Hello everyone, welcome to another Bitcoin review. I feel like it's going to be a good one. We're going to go over the different time frames, all the way from the weekly, the monthly time frame, give my thoughts on the higher time frames, right? What our biases on the higher time frame, what areas we're watching, and then work our way through the different time frames all the way down to the hourly and the 4-hour, all right? Then discuss some plans on those time frames. Before we get into that, quick shout out to the sponsor of these videos / live streams, which is Bybit. Great exchange, been trading there for years now. Never had any problems over there. The link is in the description if you want to check it out. If you use the link, make sure to send me a message on Discord or on Twitter, because you can get free access to my Discord group if you use the link and make a deposit. So if you did, send me a message and we'll sort things out. Okay, I know they added KYC recently, but I feel like most exchanges are gonna add KYC anyways. And yeah, it's a trusty exchange. So definitely see no reason why you would run away just because they added KYC. I think it's a good thing, to be honest. But anyways, that being said, right, let's get into Bitcoin. So starting off on the monthly, as I said, we've got a couple ranges on the monthly that I want to point out that are going to be important. And the first one is going to be this weekly / monthly range. We've been trading in this range for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, let's say almost 10 months within the same range. So that's going to be a key range. Just gonna zoom in a little to the weekly time frame. It's gonna be clear why I'm taking this range here. So we got all of this downside, right? Then from this low was the first time where we saw a pretty good bounce on the higher time frames. We got a couple green weekly candles, right? And then made it to this high, and from this high, right, we started dumping again and went all the way back down to range low. So from this low up to this high, so your range is set, right? What confirms how pivotal the mid-range is. And as you can see, even on the lower time frames, mid-range has been pretty damn pivotal, okay? So as you can see, resistance, support, broke below, resistance, beautiful resistance here, resistance flipped into support, right? Quick deviation, reclaim, and run up. Okay, so that's the first range. And then the second one on the monthly time frame is simply a monthly candle. And what monthly candle stands out to me here is going to be this fat red monthly candle. Okay, why this one? This was the candle, right, that broke us below these lows, right? So clean break below these lows with this monthly candle, so expansion to the downside. So that monthly candle is going to be key. What confirms this ID, right? If we take it from the high to the low, right, and we take a look at where the mid-range is coming in at, you can clearly see that it almost lines up perfectly with the former range high of the other range we have, okay? And as you can see, that range high obviously was pivotal. So the range high here, resistance at the bigger mid-range, and then here as well, beautiful resistance, smashed back above, right? And now we're seeing some downside. The first time we saw some downside, swept some lows, but we'll get into that later. But that's just the reason why I think these ranges are worth keeping an eye on, okay? I've been using these to sort of give me my bias on the higher time frames and why I was bullish from all the way down here targeting the highs. I'm still targeting the highs, and it's pretty simple for me. What's the reason I'm bullish and where do I flip bearish? Well, the confluence of these levels around range mean and this former range high, okay? So as long as we hold above this area, I see no reason why I would get bearish and target all the way down here. I think as long as we hold above here, the next logical draw on liquidity and the next logical draw for Bitcoin is to the upside towards 32K. That's also how I came up with the number 32K. It's pretty much this monthly, what was it, June, right? June high from 2022. So that's my high time frame thoughts, right? If we start closing candles within this area of this former range, so the upper area of the former range or the lower area of this bigger range, that wouldn't be a good sign. I would allow weekly wicks in there, right? But I want to see a close back above. So last week we got some downside and we finally swept these lows down here, right? Is it enough for us to push all the way to 32K now? I don't know. But what I do know is that I'm still targeting 32K as long as wicks in here get bought up. Okay, so the weekly can trade all the way down into all the way down into 24K as long as the weekly closes above here. All right, so keep that in mind for later. So with that in mind, let's head over to the weekly and mark out some more key levels. So obviously starting off with last week's high and last week's low. Okay. Last week's high. Last week's low. There we go. Move over to the daily. And on the daily, what stands out here is what was the resistance area for Bitcoin. This one, okay. Why this level? And you could also argue to take this level, but as you can see, they line up pretty much exactly. But normally I would take this one because this was the high that got swept here and where we got rejected from. But the reason I'm taking this one now is because it's a monthly high, right? And higher time frames are always going to be more key than the lower time frames. And as you can see, it's simply March high, okay? So a monthly candle high. And as you can see on the lower time frames, right? What was capping Bitcoin, what was capping the upside on Bitcoin, this level, okay? So that's going to be key. What's the level on the opposite side of this local range? Well, these lows. Now, finally, these lows got taken on this daily candle, strong buyback and a close back within the range. So personally, I don't see a reason to be overly bearish here on Bitcoin, right? I think the local draw on Bitcoin is going to be to the upside. Does that mean we can't see a small low time frame dip before ripping higher? Of course not, okay? But we'll get into the lower time frames in a second. But keep in mind that these are going to be the key levels of the range where we're currently trading in, all right? Zooming in, no, wait, let's first move back to the daily. Mark out our Monday low and Monday high, always important as well for areas of liquidity. Let's mark it out in blue. Monday high, Monday low. So as you can see, both Monday low and Monday high are unswept, right? So no clean draw there on liquidity. But what can we use these levels for? Well, for entries on the lower time frame, but trade it with our bias from the higher time frame. Okay, so as I said, bullish on the higher time frames. So what are we mainly going to be looking for? Well, longs. How do we execute our longs? With levels on the lower time frames and levels from the higher time frames, and look for low time frame sweeps of key liquidity and trade it towards the opposite side. Okay, what also stands out to me on this price action, if we take a look at the most recent swing to the downside, right? The swing that led to the sweep of these lows. Where did it start? Up here, boom, all the way down towards this low. What do we draw from that? OTE, right? Optimal trade entry, the 705 level, whatever you want to call it. Like this. Okay. And as you can see, lines up beautifully with last week's high, and just the area in general is the area above a lower time frame key high, the high from CPI, which definitely is going to have a lot of stops resting above there, short stops. So that's gonna be a key area in my opinion. If we just draw it out with an area, right, you can also see that key range high level on the monthly from there. So what's the trade ID for me? If we first make it to Monday low, right, and we sweep some lows, ideally take all of these at once, right, sweep in here, boom, look for longs, right, probably blindly long some here, stops, keep them pretty wide, then liquidity to the downside got taken. Where's liquidity then resting? Where's the draw on liquidity going to be? Towards Monday high, the high is up here, last week's high into this OTE area, okay? Fully out of longs probably there, unless you're looking for swings, right? If Bitcoin manages to break above this area and close, probably a daily close above here will trigger a cascade, right, and send us a lot higher, finally towards our final target of 32K. Okay, so this is going to be the area that we need to break for Bitcoin to move to new highs on the daily time frame and finally go for that monthly range high level. Okay, so those are the plans. As I said, I'm favoring longs. For a day trade ID, I really like this one where we sweep Monday low first, right, and then target higher liquidity. If we move higher from here, right, if we do something like this, I'll probably just sit out, see how we react at these levels, but I might look for a day trade short up here, right? Easy invalidation above this area, so keep your stops around here and target Monday low, these lows, and potentially even last week's low, okay? If we start dumping and this day trade ID where we would long the sweep of Monday low and target higher fails, right? Where we break below here and close down here, I'll get out, okay? And wait for a lower sweep of last week's low into these two levels from the higher time frames, right? Weekly, monthly range mean, right? And weekly range high lining up, okay? Look for sweeps there and look for swing longs, right? Invalidation probably all the way down here, but then target all the way up here, 32K, okay? So that's gonna be it for today. I hope you enjoyed how I went from the higher time frames back down to the lower time frames, sort of give you my thought process also on how I look at key highs and key lows and look for either side to get swept first and then target the other side. If you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like on the video, subscribe to my YouTube, that helps me a lot, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.